going on, guys? Today we are going to be doing a 2200 mile review of my CBR650R. This is 2019 edition. I don't know what changes they've made going into 2020 for this bike. It was a complete overhaul in 2019, sorry. So I just thought I'd give you guys an updated review on this. My last video, I think I was at like maybe at 200 miles or 500 miles, I can't remember exactly. But I bought this bike back in May of 2019. I've been living with this bike for a while now, and I just wanted to give you guys a proper review of the bike. So honestly, first things first, I'm just about to go and fill up the fuel. As you can see, we're down to 1 bar, and my current average is like 42.4 miles per gallon or something like that. Wow, what idiots. But what I have to say is that this bike is quite petrol hungry, especially if you're giving it the beans all the time. And that's just something to be aware of, like, because if you are really revving the crap out of it, it does take a lot of fuel, or it can do. But I have been able to get basically 200 miles out of a tank with this. Basically 200 miles per every time I fill up, something like that out of it. And it costs about 15 quid to fill it up right to the top. And the fuel economy is good if you're not razzing it about and like giving it the beans everywhere, but obviously if you're using this as a Sunday blast machine, I mean, you're gonna get a couple 100 miles out of a tank, which is pretty good. But we're gonna go up and fill up at Sainsbury's in a second and show you guys what it's like to fill up, because that's something that obviously you'll have to do quite often if you are riding the absolute balls off this thing. But yeah, as you can see, we've got a digital dash, gear indicator, fuel gauge, tachometer, you know, everything you need, speed and everything. You can't change how the dash is laid out, but it is pretty nice. And a few reviews have said it's really hard to see in like direct sunlight. I've not had any sort of issue with that. Bike is relatively easy to fill up. Just pop the cap, off you go. So it's just cost me basically £12 to fill up. Obviously it's Sainsbury's on the cheapo fuel, but I didn't let it get all the way down to the bottom on the fuel gauge or anything like that. I have done that before, and it does cost a little bit more, especially if you are going to be using, say, for example, you're going to be using the super unleaded or whatever you want to call it, rather than just standard. But yeah, filtering on this thing, very, very easy. It is very, very easy to ride as well. That's another point. If you were coming off like your A2 or even off a 125 and then you're 24 and you're on a 125 and you want to upgrade to something like this, then that's what I did. I actually upgraded from a 125 to this bike, and it is super easy to ride. It does scare the shit out of you if you do give it the beans. I will admit that. Like it's very forgiving and stuff like that, but once you start accelerating and it really starts picking up, then you do really start to feel the power that this thing has. I have to say, the braking power and everything matches how much speed you can get up on this thing. Like you said, I don't even have to try to get off the line very quick. Let's see. And we're already at breakneck speeds, like illegal speeds. in no time at all, and that was in just second gear. I have seen how quickly this bike can pick up in first. It can do around 87 miles an hour or something like that in first gear before it redlines. So that's just insane to me. Obviously on a 1000cc bike, you're gonna have a lot more power than that, but on the 1000cc bike, you just, it's not something you need for the road. It's a track thing, in my opinion. I mean, my mate's just bought an R1. I mean, it is what it is. It's personal preference, but personally, I don't think you need. I don't think you need any more than this. I don't think you even need this, to be honest, because this will do upwards of 150 mile an hour, no problem. I've had it to way over 100 at times on track and different things. I haven't really taken it on track much, I think once or twice, and it's a lot of fun. It's not gonna keep up with your blades or your GX 1000 or anything like that. Of course it's not, it's a 650, but the thing is as well, this thing's got enough torque and enough power to get you out of trouble if you ever get into any at all. You just, off you go, like depending on what gear you're in as well, it can be really, really fast. Obviously I'm doing like 26 at the moment, I'm in second gear, but I'm like right on the edge of its first power band. And it makes most of its power at like 8,000 and then 12, I think. But as you guys can see here, I have absolutely no trouble in filtering at all when it comes to that. You know, using this bike on a daily basis. It's very, very easy to use, very, very lightweight, to be honest. Once you're moving, the one thing I will say, it was heavier than I expected. When I started using the bike, first of all, and I started like trying to move it around in the garage and different things like that, I'm quite a weak person, I'll be honest, and I found it a little bit heavy. But I've only dropped it once in the course of ownership, which is unfortunate, but I dropped it once, and that was down to me being a little bit daft, and I went off camber, and it just like fell over on me. I was really dehydrated at the time, to be honest. But yeah, nothing's really going to beat you off the line unless it's another bike. With this bike, it's very, very quick off the line, or it can be, depending on how you ride. Because like, if you just open it up in first gear and just gun it, it's going to take off. But I mean, I'm in third gear now, just cruising. Like, I can bump it up to fourth, fifth, sixth, and it doesn't complain even at 40 mile an hour. At 30 mile an hour, it doesn't complain at all. It just revs really low. But yeah, honestly, I just don't really ride it in that high of a gear very often. But yeah, as you can see, that's the Honda dealership over there, and the car bit is the only bit that's open now. The bikes have moved to Blackpool, which is, like I say, it's a little unfortunate. If I knew they were going to do that, I may have stuck with a different brand of motorcycle. Although I did do my test and it got everything thrown in, because I did it with Honda. So, and RGH motorcycle training. If you guys haven't, if you guys are looking to do your test, I recommend RGH. They were brilliant. Within a couple of weeks, I'd gone from doing my A1 or part 1 of the A2 of the direct access test to doing my A2 part of it, or the part 2 of said test. We're going to find some better roads now. I've had enough of this traffic, and we're going to try and get out in the stacks a little bit and enjoy the countryside. It's just super smooth. The gearing, that was a bit of a false neutral there, that was a bit weird. The gearing can be a bit odd at times. Like, I've found that I do get the odd false neutral here and there. It might just be my gear shifting not being good enough, because you do have to be Whoa, this road's fucking horrible. You do have to be very, very precise with the gear change. You have to proper clunk it up to get it to actually go, because I don't know what they've done with the gearing on this bike, but it seems like you have to be really precise with it. And if you're really precise with it, it changes every time, but the gears do feel a little bit clunky at times. Like, you click up and it just goes gunk. Or click down and it does the same sort of sound effect, and I quite like that myself. But if you're not into clunky gears that make a bit of a noise when you do change, then obviously this bike is maybe not for you. I mean, you can do it quite smoothly once you're going and stuff. It tends not to like changing gears at low revs though at times. Like, it just seems to be a bit temperamental, but that's the only thing I've come across a little bit. Seating position on this bike is how can I describe it? It's canted forward. You are leant forward a little bit. It's not terrible, I'll be honest. Like, it's not awful. It's not terrible, and it helps you with the way that the bike handles and everything. It does help, because you are leant forward a little bit in a bit more of a sporty position. But I don't find it too bad, especially if you grip the tank with your knees. It takes a lot of the weight off your wrists. The only other thing I can mention is that it might be a little bit vibey for some people. I've found it when I've been going down the motorway for a long period of time that it does get a little bit vibey. You have to like kind of shake your hands a lot, but most bikes are like that after you've been holding on to the throttle and stuff for a while, and you're giving it some, getting past some cars and stuff like that, doing some acceleration and all that stuff. You do find that you do end up just like having to watch what's going on, and obviously make sure that when you are going round corners and when you are accelerating hard and stuff like that, you don't flip the bike out. Because, I mean, to be fair, this bike has saved me a few times. The last time I was coming home from the motorway, I went round the car, and as I accelerated really hard to get up to speed, and what happened was I accelerated really hard and it cut the throttle completely, because I hit the white lines on the motorway. Must have been really slippy at that moment in time. Like, it had been raining quite hard, and I accelerated a bit too much, give it a bit too much on the throttle, and this bike's traction control and everything else saved my beans. It cut the throttle and it stopped me accelerating until I was in the lane, and it saved the bike from flipping itself out probably. I mean, that's something that you can't knock, is that this bike, for the price, has quite a good electronics package. It's got anti-wheelie and traction control built in and stuff. This button, if you hold it, it turns the traction control off, and you get a light on the dash telling you it's off. I mean, for me personally, the ABS on this bike has been a saviour a few times because of other people's driving. You know, having to slam on when someone just pulls out or anything like that. People just don't look these days. Yeah, this bike is super smooth if you want it to be. If you want it to be herky-jerky and like go mental on it and be really aggressive and really fast riding, you can do that. But you can also be super smooth with it. I've had a few pillions on it now. I've had my girlfriend on the back, I've had my dad on the back, I've had my brother on the back, and I've also had my girlfriend on the back. Not girlfriend, mum on the back, sorry. And every single one of them has said it's been quite comfortable for them. The seat's probably not the best on the rear, I don't know. Like, I haven't sat on it for a long period of time. I haven't let anyone ride it and give me a pillion on it, but I should imagine a pillion seat isn't that comfortable. But what I can say is that the main seat on this bike is very comfortable, and I quite enjoy it. That's something that I can say is the main seat on this bike. I rode 3.5 hours to the Lake District to where we were camping, and 3.5 hours back. On the way there I didn't really stop, but I really enjoyed the ride, and I really enjoyed every part of it. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the entire journey, and to say you're on the bike for 3.5 hours without stopping, no breaks, nothing. All I did every now and again was just shake my legs off or stand up to give myself a little bit of a rest, and it was comfortable. It wasn't like, oh shit, I've got to sit down again and I really don't want to, it's gonna, you know, really hurt after a while. And it just didn't. It was very comfortable. So I have to say to anyone that's going to tour on this bike, anyone that's going to go long distances on this, like I did, I think it was 200 miles or 110 miles or something like this in one trip, like just on the way there. I do have to say, very nice. And this should be fine to, you know, give it the beans a little bit. And one thing I absolutely love on this bike is that intake sound. It sounds phenomenal when you get going, and I absolutely love the intake sound of this bike. It's just like, it sounds like it's gonna take off. And to be honest, if you're in the right gear, it will. I mean, I'm doing what, 40 right now, and there's 60. Yeah, like it does take off if you want it to. And that was in 4th gear. I wasn't even in the optimal rev range or anything like that. I mean, we'll do some motorway riding and let you guys see that and how it performs on the motorway. I was quite impressed myself with it, because it really does pull. Like, if you're in the right gear at the right rev range and stuff, even in 6th gear at like 80 mile an hour, you roll on the throttle and you feel it pulling. And it goes. It's not a mega fast. Obviously, if you're in a lower gear, it'll pull even harder because the rev range and stuff on this is quite high. But yeah, you can really have some fun on this bike, and it can be quite dangerous if you're not careful. And that's something that a lot of people will say, it's a 650, it'll be easy to ride. I mean, in one word, yeah, it's easy to ride, but in another, it can scare the living crap out of you if you get it wrong. So I do recommend just take it easy if you get this bike. Take it easy, especially if you're new to riding. Take it easy. The back brake on this can feel a little bit mushy, which is a little bit annoying, but I mean, every back brake on every bike I've ridden. Can it wheelie? Yeah, it can. You've just got to turn the traction control off. And honestly, with the way the roads have been, traction control is something I don't mess with. I just leave it on. I just leave it on, because it's not really worth the risk of spinning the back wheel out on gravel or, you know, crappy roads, oil, you name it. Like, I've sort of ridden in it. So, like, the other thing I have to say, when you rev this thing up, it sounds amazing. Like, it really does. I will pull over somewhere and talk you guys through the spec of the bike as well in a second, but I do apologise if you guys think that this bike is a complete state at this moment in time, because it is very dirty on the roads at the moment. These Dunlop Sport Max tyres, which have done me well. They've done me well, apart from the one puncher I got in the back. They've done alright. They're not the stickiest tyres. I would opt for example, the Michelin Road Pilot 4s or something like that is probably what I'm going to put on them. The only modification I have made to this bike is the tinted windscreen. The only reason I ended up getting it is because the airflow of the normal screen was basically pushing it right into the helmet. With the taller screen on it, it does help a lot when you're motorway riding and touring. So, another thing you've got to consider when you do take this bike, or if you're going to get this bike, is it's a 4-cylinder, 4-stroke, or whatever you want to call it. It's a 4-cylinder engine. This is one of the reasons I actually bought this bike, because I wanted a 4-cylinder engine, because I thought it would be smoother on the motorway, and obviously it's a bigger engine and stuff. I thought it would be more stable on the motorway than something like the Ninja 650. So obviously you can see the suspension there. You've got Showa forks. I've got the RAM mount on there just for my phone and stuff, so I can just like sit it on there and everything. This thing redlines at like 14,000, between 12 and 14. It's more like 14,000 where it redlines. And I'll be honest, when you are going through the bike and you're riding it and everything like that, it has more than one sort of place that it makes its power. About 6,000 it starts to kick in, and then about 8,000 it starts to kick in more, and then once you get up to, I think it's more like, once you get to 8,000 it really starts to take off. So if you guys want to get the most out of this, you've got to rev it quite high and get the power band right up there. So we've got ABS on the front and rear. We've got a 310mm disc with 4-piston caliper on the front, and a 240mm disc with a single piston caliper on the rear. Now, I don't know whether you guys can see it, but my chain is sort of going a bluey colour, which I don't understand why exactly. Now, they make this in obviously this red colour, which I absolutely love. It's called Honda Racing Red or something like that. And they also make a matte black variant of it, which is quite nice. But personally, I prefer the Honda Racing Red. It looks amazing to me, and it's what they used in a lot of the promo videos and stuff like that. One of the things I absolutely love is the way that this thing looks. So yeah, if you guys like the look of it as much as I do, then yeah. The only thing I don't like is that there, and I will be getting a tail tidy for it. It's just I've not had a chance to at the moment, and that's something that might be my next like little modification that I do. The other one might be heated grips, because it's cold in the UK, especially at winter time, and it's currently winter time, and I'm using it all year round. So yeah, that's something definitely to consider for myself. The fuel capacity is 15.4 litres, and the fuel consumption, it says 20.4 kilometers per litre. So yeah, the seat height is 810mm, and the curb weight is 207 kilograms. So it has a 6-speed gearbox, and obviously a wet multi-plate AS clutch. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but it is also installed with Honda Hiss 2 to protect it. I also, if you want to take a little bit of a closer look here, has a data tag installed on it by a Honda. I put this little modification on it, but that's basically all I've done to the bike, is put that screen on, put that tap protector on, and that's about it. And obviously, if I turn the bike on, you'll be able to see that lovely dash. You've got full LED headlights, which I think look incredible on this thing. So yeah, with that, we're going to hop back on the bike. For touring and stuff, I'll put some pictures up on the screen. I got some crappy panniers off like Wish. There is now sets that you can buy with proper panniers in. So if you're going to go touring, I would highly recommend a set like that with the proper panniers and all the proper gear. Yeah, but you guys will be able to see how quickly this picks up in third gear once we hit the national speed limit signs, which are just here now. So 3, 2, 1, and that's 80. Wow, this thing picks up really fast. It looks like there might have been a car crash or something here. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, I had to slow right down. It looks like someone's just pulled up on the side there. They're on the phone, but there's a surprise. But yeah, like this bike, like I said, it's a 4-cylinder, and when you start accelerating and stuff, it's just so fast. And it's so good. I just enjoy that acceleration, that noise, that sound. The intake sound and everything on it is just really, really great. So if you guys are a fan, let me know in the comments. And yeah, it's a really fun bike to ride, and long distance or not, you can definitely have a lot of fun with it. Like I said, you get into the power bind on this thing and it really can kick your ass. You just need to be quite careful with it. But I mean, if you've ridden any bigger bikes, if you've ridden 600s, if you've ridden super sport bikes, or you know, 1000cc monsters, then you should be alright. It's quite a fun little bike to ride, as a lot of people have said. I think Lamb Chop Rides was quite impressed with it. It just didn't like really do anything for him. We're coming into a national speed limit. This road's usually very windy. It's very windy and twisty. It's usually very good for the bike, so I'm hoping there's not loads of potholes and stuff on the bends and shit, because I haven't been down here in a while. We'll see if the traction control light comes on at any moment. Car cleverly parked on the bend there. But yeah, I'm not taking it a stupid amount because it is cold today. It's only about 5 degrees out or something, so like I am aware that the roads are slippy and the roads aren't really the best for like absolutely razzing it round or anything, so I am kind of taking it a little bit slower. But I mean, you guys get the gist. This is a fun road to be on. And you can see I'm only in 3rd gear and I'm just leaving it there because that's where I'm sort of in the power band, but I'm sort of on the edge of it as well. And I find that's the most comfortable place for me to, you know, really push this bike and like try and get my knee, not exactly get my knee down or anything, but I also know that some of these corners are a bit blind and they're a bit, ooh. Bit menacing at times, so yeah, we're gonna okay, that's where I was gonna go, but looks like it's closed. That's fun. Yeah, I don't know this road, I've never been on it, but there you go. That's what happens sometimes when you get a diversion. You end up on the road that you've never experienced before and it becomes a bit of an adventure. But the handling on this bike, you just lean it over and off you go. It's just, but again, I can't really give it the beans on these roads today. I have done in places, but only where I know where I'm going and where I can give it a bit more, because I know the roads and I, you know, obviously know that it's safe to do so at that point. I was gonna say, I hope that's not like a ramp where it's, whoa, I just hit some big rock or something. Felt the front wheel go. It's not the best when that happens, but I mean, it is what it is. Just gotta be careful. New traffic signals ahead, 40 mile an hour. Right, okay. And you can see while I've been out, since I fueled up, I've actually used 1 bar of fuel already. But I have been out for a couple of hours now, so I mean, it is what it is. This thing is, like I said, I haven't exactly been tame with it. In whatever situation you want to put that, I haven't exactly been sitting around and not giving it the beans when I can. I have been accelerating quite hard in the second and third gear at times. So, to give you an example of the pulling power of this thing, we're currently doing 60 mile an hour, and I roll on the throttle 70, 80. Yeah. And that is a prime example of essentially what you need. It makes it so that everything that you need to do, everything that you want to do on the motorway, in 6th gear, you can pull away. And that, to me, is very, very important and very, very good. But yeah, it's this bike is a lot of fun. 50 mile an hour speed limit on the motorway, just what I want. Filtering on the motorway on this, super easy, super easy. And just gotta be careful, because people do not look, they just indicate and move. But you guys can see now, filtering, easy as pie. Absolutely easy as pie on this thing. And you can just pleasantly filter along. I filtered on the way home from the Lake District. I filtered for 2 hours straight. Now, it wasn't fun, but it was doable, it was comfortable, it was very soon. I will be doing a top 10 things I love, top 10 things I don't like, and some other videos regarding the bike and how it performs. So here we have a short clip of me riding at night. This was actually taken on New Year's Eve. We were taking my girlfriend up to Anglesart Point, or Rivington Point, up at Rivington, and we had to go through a lot of countryside roads that were very narrow, dark, dingy, and you can't see a lot. But honestly, hopefully the camera does this justice and you can see how good the lighting is on this. But honestly, the cameras never do the lighting justice on video, on bikes at all. That's just how it is. But honestly, when I was riding, I was 100% confident the entire time, because even though the roads were freezing cold and it was like 0 degrees if that, and very slippy, very damp and really horrible to ride on, I was 100% confident, because as you guys can see now, as we go into the no lighted areas at all, once I turned the full beam on, I could see clearly where I was going, and even without the full beam, I could see where I was going. It was very easy for me to judge the corners, it was very easy for me to see where I was going, what needed to be done, how fast I should take that corner and everything like that. And obviously I was taking my time because I had a pillion on and the road conditions were not great at all, and obviously with how cold it was, I didn't really want to push it too much because I wasn't exactly sure on the road conditions further and further as we got up into the mountains where we were going to watch the fireworks. So honestly, if you look at it, you can see the road ahead of you, and I'm very, very impressed with the lighting and everything like that. As you can see on the left hand side, you can see the side of the road, you can see the fence, you can, you know, see everything that was there. And obviously when you're going around the corners and everything like that, the only downside to these lights is they don't adjust and point where you're going like some of the other more modern bikes do, or some of the more advanced bikes do now. That's just something that I noticed. It's just one of them things. Obviously, if you're riding in a straight line, you're riding in the right way and the right frame of mind, and you're looking ahead of you, you can definitely see where you're going, where you want to be going, and the lighting is definitely top tier. So I hope you guys enjoyed this section of video. I'm sorry that it had to be recorded. The audio was recorded after the fact, but I didn't want to have my audio recorder and stuff stuck in the helmet while I was, you know, going up there to celebrate New Year's Eve. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and let's jump into our final verdict. So honestly, in every sort of way, this bike is good at everything, but it's not perfect at anything, if you guys get what I'm saying. It's a great all-rounder, it's fantastic at almost everything, you can do anything on it, but it isn't perfect in any sort of way. There's nothing that really stands out about this bike, apart from obviously it's a Honda, it's going to be reliable and stuff like that, but it's also not going to blow your socks off in any kind of way that maybe other bikes would. Say a 1000cc Fireblade is going to be lightweight, flickable and have insane power. This, it has power, but it's nowhere near as powerful as something like that. It's not the lightest of bike, it's not super lightweight and flickable, but it's still very good for cornering. It feels planted, it's really sturdy, really stable. It's just not perfect at any given thing. So hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my future content, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.